I have a story I want to share about what happened to me about 3 years ago. And I think it fits with the time we're in and what's going on. And it really begins with my meditating one day and thinking, okay, God, how come nobody's calling me? I know this is the right time. I know people are ready to hear what I have to say and feel what I have to send. You know, I feel that it's the right time. How come nobody's calling me? And I thought, is there something I'm doing? Is something... And I got a little kind of like a yes, but not exactly. And I thought, oh. And I thought about it a little more, and I said, oh, does something I don't like have to happen? Because I don't like fame and, you know, dealing with all that stuff. And I thought, maybe that's what it is. But as soon as I said, is there something that I don't like has to happen, I got this gigantic yes. Yes in my head, the voice, yes, the word, Y-E-S, big yellow letters, fat, Y-E-S, yes. I said, oh, okay. And, you know, this happened to me once before when I was first opening about healing. I had a question and I had to see if I would accept it not happening the way I wanted it to happen. And it took me 3 months to decide I would do it the way. But this time it took me about 3 seconds. One, because I'm too old to waste time. I think now is the time. And I know nothing else really matters. So I said, okay, whatever it is, I accept. And I went back to sleep very happy. 10 days later, a fella is working on my computer, a friend who's trying to condense stuff and work on it, and it's getting late, and I asked him if he wanted some tea. I went up, put the tea kettle on, come down, we're getting gross, talking about the computers, and then I hear my dog banging his body like on the wall. He didn't bark at that time at all, ever. And so I said, I gotta go see what's wrong with the dog. So I go upstairs to the kitchen door, and I see my kitchen is on fire. The tea kettle I had put on had melted and was burning the kitchen cabinets, and the house was on fire. I knew if I opened the door, I worsened the fire, but I had to call for the dog, so I opened the door and I called, and he didn't come, of course, and I went running around to the front screaming to my neighbor, wake up, my house is on fire. She called the firemen. They came actually fairly quick. I went to the front door, tried to open the door, made it worse, kept calling, he didn't come. Firemen came, and then in a matter of only 20-25 minutes, I think, my house was like a 5-story high torch. And it's only 1 story high on a slope. So. And my car was exploded. Everything. I realized I have nothing. And in my life, I never understood about stocks and bonds and stuff like that. I know antiques. I know what's really valuable, I can tell. So I had, through the 40 years of my working life, I collected beautiful antiques from all over the world where I've been, and very valuable. Probably a couple $1 million worth. Really very, very valuable stuff. Never thought of it that way. I just thought I was preserving something wonderful and I got to enjoy it, and when I got older I could sell stuff and have something to live on. It was the perfect retirement to me. Except I never had the money to insure them, which was like $10,000 a month or something. So they weren't insured. And I'm realizing as I walk away, you know, you have nothing. You have nothing. You have your sweatsuit and your tennis shoes, and everything is gone. And I looked to my right, and I looked at the stars, and I said, okay, God, I get it about all the antiques and my artwork, my father's artwork, the sculpture, the paintings. That's sad, but it doesn't really matter, because things just twinkle in and twinkle out. It doesn't matter. And so I let go of that. I apologized to all the artisans that I felt, I'm so sorry, I thought I was a good caretaker, but not so good. And then I turned to my left side, and I thought about my computers and my office and all my contacts and the books that I had partially written and all my office, all my work, everything gone. And I said, you know, God, that's tough. That's really tough. I don't know if I can't bring all that back. And then I thought, okay. And then I looked straight ahead up at the stars and I said, but you know, God, Keo's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Because he lost his life in a fire. And that doesn't matter. I lose him, he could go live with somebody else. That's my loss, but he doesn't have to get killed. That's his loss. That's not fair. Yes. And I was sad, and I walked off into the night, and actually sort of half walked in the woods looking at the stars, and I came back, I guess about almost 2 hours later. Fire is basically put out. There's only one room standing. It's the far, far end of the slope of the hill down below. And one of my sons is trying to get the firemen to break down all the material and stuff in front of that door to see if the dog is in there. And the fire chief says, nothing can live through 3.5 hours of a fire of a house that has burnt to the ground. Nothing can be alive. And my son convinced this young fireman anyway to break down the door, and out came my dog. Covered in flame retardant, eyes blood red, coughing, the neighbors cheering, Keo's alive, and it was like a movie, this phalanx of these men, and they all were like in a line coming up the road, with Keo looking so small, and it's like I could hear music, like a movie, I swear. And they were like, we've got the dog, you know. It was just magnificent, and I felt this energy in my body. And right before that happened, my neighbor's dog, who adored my dog, his name was Fred, and Fred was sort of sitting at my feet with his chin on my knee, and he kept stumping his head on it and putting his paw on my knee, and like to say, it's okay, it's okay. I said, no, Fred, Keo's gone. And he's like, and so then when Keo was there, Fred came out, everybody's happy, and then I realized, this is the dance for me. This is what this is for. This was the thing I would not accept, what I would not want to have happen. I would have tried to negotiate with God how to keep at least some of that stuff. I could lose everything I had, but let me keep my father's art and mine and my kids' photos and stuff, you know. But when Keo was alive, I just got this calm and joy that said, this is the beginning. Now the world will open to you. Now people will ask you questions. And it has to be this way, because I needed to lose everything I had. No money, no house, nothing. Lose everything I had, experience that complete loss, so that as the universe quickly started giving me things back again, including Keo as the very first thing, I realized now when I tell people, when you lose all your savings, when you lose your home, when you lose things, that's not good, and we have to work to see why all this is happening and help each other. And it's supposed to hurt us, some because it's injustice and it's wrong, or we need support from fellow humans, something meaningful out of the loss. But what I realized is, for especially a wealthy country like America and Europe, most of the, first world, we have a funny way of looking at our entitlement for things, and a very angry experience if we lose our things, to the point that people commit suicide or feel very despairing. And I realized we're all going to lose a lot now as the entryway into this almost heaven on earth that we can create, a real breakthrough. But we have to lose a lot because we're so stuck, and much of our loss is artificial. It's created by us, we make ourselves suffer. The whole thing is all off the mark. And I realized that while people can say the words, oh, it's your thinking and what you expect, and be positive. We were talking about this earlier. It's true, like the guy in the 30s who said, envision the wish fulfilled, or feel the wish fulfilled, to create it. And I used to say that about healing, because as you feel something healed starts becoming healed. And so that's a great truth. But when it becomes like a saying or something, and we're saying it, it's like another thing to scold ourselves with, instead of really get it. And if I had a lot of money, or someone who has a great house, lots of money, and they say, oh, it doesn't matter if you lose everything. People go, yeah, easy for you to say, And so I knew it was all part of the whole thing. And it increased the energy in when I send. It changed the information to be more whole, more complete, and not just a left brain logical statement, or even very good statement, but an energetic shift of, oh yeah, it really doesn't matter. We are alive, and my children are here, and everyone I love is here, and potential is everywhere, and we're kind of cleaning the decks out of the mess we made. So there is a whole new stage coming into being, and that is what I believe the evolutionary leap is. I had that premonition 40 years ago that we were going to create a kind of heaven on earth through the shift in the way we look at everything. And I think we're well into it. We are well into it.